Atlanta's gloomy skies matched my inherent depression as I walked through the assiduous streets. I'm 26 and stuck serving coffee and pastries at a never-ending coffee shop. My life was boring and my dreams were forgotten, but something scary was hiding beneath the surface. It was like an atrocious mystery waiting to happen, especially with Halloween approaching. Every day, I'd wake up, put on my barista apron, and head to the coffee shop. I'd serve the same types of customers, busy office workers, distracted moms, and tired students. It was all very monotonous. All of my friends and family loved Halloween, but I did not. They'd talk excitedly about their costumes and the parties, but for me, it was just another dull day. One evening, as I was closing the coffee shop, I heard faint whispers. I thought it was my exhausted mind playing tricks on me. But the whispers grew louder, and I felt like I wasn't alone. I saw a dark figure for a brief moment, and I began to panic. I couldn't shake the feeling that something awful was watching me. Reluctantly, I agreed to go to a Halloween party with a group of my friends at an old, very creepy mansion. It was a grand place, but it had a frightening history. The mansion had been transformed into a mysterious and eerie world for the party. For once, I actually felt excited and curious, like I had entered a different reality. Little did I know that this night would change everything. As I explored the mansion on my own, I met a handsome, mature man in old-fashioned clothes. He told me about the mansion's insidious history, a story of love, betrayal, and a vengeful spirit that still haunted it. The stranger's words gave me shivers. He told a mournful story about two lovers who were tricked and lied to. There was also a ghost of a very angry woman in the mansion. She wanted revenge. I found the story intriguing. And then the stranger gave me a key. He said it would open the mansion's grim secrets. Before I could ask more, he disappeared into the crowd. As he had sulked away, I was left wondering, why me? But I was also left feeling a new and awakened thrill within me. The night grew darker, and the party got strange and a little scary. Some people at the party wanted to talk to the ghosts in the mansion. It was like a spooky ceremony. We gathered in a dark room with a special board and flickering candles. The room got very cold, and it became unnaturally silent. We tried to talk to the ghost, and something moved the board by itself. It spelled out words that made us terrified. It talked about pain, lies, and wanting to get back at someone, to make them pay. The room felt weird, and I could sense something old and angry there. After the scary ceremony at that mansion that night, strange things started happening in my own home. Objects moved on their own, and I heard strange voices in the dark. I felt afraid all the time, like the ghosts from the mansion were with me. My friends didn't understand why I was so scared. They thought it was just leftover fear from the party. But it wasn't just that. It was more. I had accidentally connected with the angry ghost, and it stuck to me like a haunting shadow. I started to avoid people because I was so full of trepidation. So I got really desperate, and I started researching the mansion's history at night. I found out about a hidden room where the ghost story ended in betrayal and death. It was a new world for me, so I reached out to someone who knows about and studies ghosts for help. And together we found out what really happened and how to make the bitter ghost go away. As Halloween got closer, I gathered my courage and went back to the sinister mansion one last time. And I had a big showdown with the vengeful specter. The room got very, very icy, and I had to fight the evil spirit to save myself. It was a very frightful fight, like a race against time to banish the ghost before it took over me completely. In the end, I managed to send the angry apparition back to where it came from, but there was a price. When I left the mansion, I realized I was still somehow connected to the ghost in a way that I couldn't imagine. I could feel it inside of me. The curse wasn't completely gone, and I would always have a part of the vexed phantom within. The horrifying experience changed me a lot. My life was different, not boring anymore, but was forever haunted. Every Halloween, the bitter ghost would come back, and I would have to do things I didn't want to do. Ugly things, bloody things, evil things, things I dare not speak of, and I couldn't control myself. Trying to escape my boring life led me into a never-ending nightmare, and the mansion's ghosts would always be a part of my future. Oh, how I would have done anything to go back to the sweet simplicity that my life once was. I reveled in my mind about the peace I had lived and didn't even know it. But now I was living in a burning hell that my life had become. It wasn't even really my life anymore. The years passed, and Halloween came and went like a haunting echo of the past. Each year, the malevolent spirit within me would awaken, and I would become her unwilling vessel. It was a dreadful experience, one that I couldn't escape, no matter how hard I tried. As I struggled to control the raging spirit's influence, my life became a constant battle against the darkness that threatened to consume me. I had changed. I was transforming. My friends and family grew increasingly worried, and I kept them at a distance for their safety and mine. On one Halloween, a friend that I trusted and I decided to end this ghost's hauntings once and for all. We took some items to perform a ritual and went straight to the mansion. We did some unmentionable activities using the items we brought in the mansion, trying to keep the spirit at bay. The room where I met the ghost before became our battlefield. We went on for hours, then days, fighting to get my life back. The ghost got angrier and stronger. It was a big test of our willpower and strength, a fight for my very soul. Just when it looked like we might prevail, something terrible happened. The room shook loudly. It felt like the walls were closing in on us. The ghost's power got stronger, and I felt like she was taking over me. In that really petrifying moment, I made a huge choice. I used all my energy and sent my emotions of hurt and pain toward the ghost. And something powerful and otherworldly began to happen. The room filled with a bright orange light, and I felt like I was being torn away from the ghost. The entire mansion seemed to violently shake, and there was a blood-curdling, resentful scream. It was over, and I had won. I was victorious. But I quickly learned that winning came at a monumental cost. I felt weak, like something important had been taken from me. When I left the mansion, I knew I was very different. The evil ghost was gone, but she left something in me. Yet I told myself to be happy that the spirit was finally gone. I pushed my intrusive thoughts away. I headed home, feeling strange but pretty good. That night, when I went to bed, I saw a figure standing at the edge of my bed. What? Suddenly, my body froze, and it, whatever it was, slowly started approaching me. My eyes widened as I remained frozen, and the looming figure started putting something in my mouth. Something dry, black, and sharp, like broken glass milled into dust. But it was something more evil. My heart pounded like an uninvited officer at a stranger's door. I still could not move. Fear gripped me like never before. Dear God. And that's when everything blacked out.
My name is Elizabeth, I'm 24 years old, and I'm not one to easily believe in outlandish, scary stuff, but I couldn't ignore the strong feeling that something was wrong as soon as I walked into the mansion. The mansion gave off a creepy vibe as if there were unseen beings around me. It may sound cliché, but as it was the week before Halloween, I thought that it was the perfect time to search it out. As I entered the old Victorian mansion through its creaky doors, I visibly shuddered and I dropped my luggage with a loud thud. The place was filled with memories, and the dimly lit hallway stretched out in front of me like a never-ending tunnel of shadows. I had never been beyond the front door of the house as I lived in a cool apartment in a pretty chic part of the city. But as a recent request from my parents, I decided to finally check it out and spend the week there. The eerie house was something I inherited from a distant relative I barely knew, and out of respect, it was time for me to make use of the gift. With each step I took through the dusty hallways, passing old portraits of long-dead family members, I found a dark, heavy door with strange markings on it that was beckoning me to enter it. It was hidden behind thick curtains as if someone had purposely concealed it. My curiosity was leading me, so I turned the rusty doorknob and stepped inside, not yet knowing that I was uncovering secrets that had been hidden for a very long time. Inside the room, the air grew colder, and my breath made ghostly puffs in front of me. The room was like a time capsule, filled with old, dirty stuff. One thing caught my eye immediately, a porcelain doll sitting on a table covered in velvet. This doll was unlike any I'd ever seen. It had an eerie elegance with its porcelain face, and its glassy green eyes gave off a strange feeling. When I touched it, it felt cold like dry ice and foreboding, sending a shiver down my spine. It was as if the doll had a presence, a sort of unearthly life to it. As I looked at the doll more closely and held it in my hands, I found a faded note hidden beneath it. I picked up the paper and started reading, and my heart raced with each word. The note hinted at a bad history between my distant relative, Margaret, and another family member who met a tragic, unexplained end in this very mansion. The unsettling feeling I had since entering the mansion became even stronger. I couldn't help but wonder if this doll, with its strange aura, had something to do with the dark history of my family. Little did I know that discovering the doll was the beginning of a nightmare that would pull me into the mansion's dark past, where the spirits of the deceased were looking for answers and a reckoning with a legacy of death and untruths. Night after night, the doll's creepy presence began to take over my life like a slowly moving fog. Strange things started happening in the mansion. I heard quiet footsteps in empty rooms and whispers echoing in the hallways. Ghostly figures with pained expressions flickered in and out of sight. And the doll itself, it seemed to move when I wasn't looking, changing its position or turning its head to follow me with its glassy eyes. And each time the doll looked different. Her hair, her clothes, even her facial expressions would change. Sometimes slightly, other times drastically. Some nights, I'd wake up in a sweat and find it sitting at the end of my bed, staring at me with an unchanging, frightening expression. The doll wasn't just a lifeless toy, it felt like a silent guardian of secrets that refused to stay hidden. My dreams became more vivid and unsettling. They showed me glimpses of the past, like whispers of old conversations and devastating events that happened in this house. I became really curious about the connection between the doll and my distant relative Margaret, and the scary history of the mansion. As the strange and hairy things happening in the house got worse, I decided to learn more about the mansion's history. I couldn't shake the feeling that the doll was connected to the bad things going on. So, I searched through old family papers and letters and discovered secrets that had been hidden for a long time. I found out a spine-tingling truth. Margaret, my mysterious relative, had a tense and unfriendly relationship with another family member named Isabella. Isabella's presence was a mystery, but it was clear that they didn't get along. There were rumors and old papers that suggested something really terrible happened, and Isabella died in the mansion under peculiar circumstances. People whispered that Margaret might have been responsible. With determination, I decided to deal with the doll and end its haunting. I wanted to uncover the mansion's dark history and free the restless spirit that had been trapped for too long. Armed with the knowledge of Margaret's rocky relationship with Isabella, I gathered things in the house connected to their lives. My plan was to do a ritual to release Isabella's angry spirit. I would do it on Halloween night. It was a cold, black night when I went to the room where the haunting started. The porcelain doll was on a table covered in velvet. In the flickering candlelight, I placed the things I'd collected around the doll to make a circle connecting the past and the present. I started the ritual, saying some strange words I found in an old journal near the doll. The most horrifying thing is that the doll started to fight against me, moving and looking at me with its glassy eyes. But I couldn't stop. I had to finish the ritual. It turned into a grisly fight with the doll. It moved like someone was controlling it, trying to break free from the circle. The room felt icy and heavy. I could feel Isabella's anger and desperation coming from the doll. I kept chanting, but the dark force got stronger, reminding me that I was dealing with something very evil. With a powerful resolve, I lit a match and set the doll on fire. The flames danced around it, and the room smelled of burning wood and something worse, the burning of flesh. The doll started to make god-awful noises, and it reached out to me with twisted fingers, screaming and cursing in a foreign language I didn't understand. Strange green smoke started swirling around the burning doll. It felt like the calamitous history of the mansion was being torn apart. The sinister force, tied to the doll for a long time, fought against being set free. As the flames consumed the doll, it seemed to melt away. The screams got louder and more desperate. Isabella's spirit was trying to hold on to this world, but the power of the ritual was undeniable. With a final, agonizing scream, the doll disintegrated. But when I looked down at what I expected to be ashes, were adult-sized, human bones of a woman. Oh my God. Human bones. It was Isabella. She had possessed the doll and stayed living in it with all of her bitterness, resentment, and pain. And now the malevolent force that had haunted the mansion was finally extinguished. Isabella was truly gone. The room fell into a thick silence, and the green smoke dissipated like a fading nightmare. The mansion, once a place of torment and gloom, seemed to sigh in relief. The restless spirit of Isabella had been released, her suffering was finally put to rest. As I gazed at the smoldering bones of the doll, or rather, Isabella, I couldn't help but feel a sense of attainment and closure. The mansion had been freed from its curse, and I had prevailed over the corrupt forces that had plagued my family for generations. The horrors I had faced strengthened my connection to my family's past, but they wouldn't define my future. With a newfound sense of hope, I resolved to restore the mansion to its former glory, a symbol of triumph over the shadows that had once imprisoned it.